Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you for joining me for this video. And the Minnesota Vikings have claimed Cohl Cabral off of waivers. He's an offensive lineman, and so this is a move that is made to add more depth to their offensive line. And just to discuss what they've currently got already, they in the first round took Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, and then they've got Urza Cleveland, Brian O'Neill, Garrett Bradbury, Dakota. Those are guys like that on the offensive line already. They've got a bunch of pretty tall, lengthy offensive linemen. I believe they've got around 11 linemen that's about 6'5", so they've got some height to them, some size to them. And so, yeah, the Vikings definitely want to go big on that offensive line and make sure that they can protect for Kirk Cousins. And it makes sense. I mean, not just protecting for Kirk Cousins, but being able to block for Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison. Whenever those guys are in the game, they're definitely, skilled players that certainly make the most of those situations. So you want to make sure that you give them every opportunity to capitalize on each touch that they get in the backfield, honestly. And then I'm not even going to get started on the receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. And so, yeah, they've got a lot of talent, and they're going to need to make sure that they have time to get those guys the ball. And so that is what this is all about, adding more depth here for this offensive line. And so we'll see how this works out for Cabral. He was cut last week by the Houston Texans. He had signed with the Houston Texans practice squad late last season, but never appeared in an actual game. And so, but this is obviously a good opportunity for him to try to make the roster here. Cabral entered the league as an undrafted free agent last year, although a lot of undrafted free agents didn't get an opportunity to land a spot with the team. He initially signed with the Rams, but he ended up not making the 53-man roster out of training camp. And so he spent some time on the LA practice squad, and then the club let him go around November of last year. But that being said, obviously he still was able to gain some experience, and so that's going to bode well for him moving forward. And so in terms of in college, he's from Arizona State. And so throughout his time at Arizona State, he was a 3-year starter for the Sun Devils. He's 6'3", 305 pounds at center. So he saw some time at left tackle as well for Arizona State. And so that means he's got some flexibility to him, center, left tackle. And so he'll likely be asked to play, probably some center. I mean, I believe that's what the Rams had interest in utilizing him in, was at center, but we'll have to see, what that'll be for the Minnesota Vikings and what their interest will be for him in terms of where they put him at. If it's a focus at center, the Vikings, they have two centers already to my before him, and that's going to be Mason Cole, who's going to be competing with him for that backup spot, as well as Garrett Bradbury, who's supposed to be the starting center. So, yeah, we'll see how that shapes out, obviously, over the course of training camp throughout the season, and see if there's any way that Cole can end up advancing on that depth chart, which he'll have to do if he wants to make the roster here. But with that being said, though, yeah, definitely an uphill battle for him to make the roster. But you never know. Guys continue to improve. They continue to work hard, get stronger, faster, smarter, all of that stuff. And so a little bit more so, when he went to Arizona State, he signed with Arizona State as a 4-star center. And so he drew most interest from the likes of Arizona, Boise State, California. ESPN 300 ranked him as their 199th prospect for the 2016 recruiting cycle, noting that he ultimately could offer valuable versatility and depth on the offensive line. So even coming out of high school, they knew he was going to be able to add some versatility to him and some depth for some team. And so, and while they're keen on his versatility, they see him sticking at center with the Sun Devils, which ultimately that's what he played for most of the part, although they did utilize his versatility at tackle as well. And so they were pretty high on his strength on the inline strength and his ability to generate movement when he stays low and get into positioning. And so that being said, we'll look at some of these, what the scouting report was on him when he was entering, eligible, I should say, for the draft last year. And so they say that he had functional athleticism, and they say he does not possess ideal levels of mobility to serve as a space blocker or routinely climb to the second level and challenge linebackers. He's somewhat stale as an athlete and will get challenged by first step quickness and lateral defensive flow alike at the point of attack. But they do say that he has sharp football IQ. He's an active communicator, and it's easy to appreciate how hands-on he is with calls. He played a lot of ball at ASU and offers necessary identification skills to flash and react to misdirection and overloads against interior protections, not easily mixed up in assignments. And so that just goes to show, obviously, if you play the center position, you're going to need to be able to communicate with the rest of the offensive line and definitely be pretty sharp when it comes to your football IQ. And so that's definitely traits that he does possess, so that bodes well for him. And then they say he has the anchor ability. He does not have ideal core strength, and his lack of footwork quickness further expands on the issue to leaving him chasing too many blocks and conceding space on the interior. Needs to become more consistent and urgent to work across the face of blocks or get himself established against A-gap defenders. In terms of his hand technique, they say it lacks the necessary punch and power through his frame to jolt and offset upfield punches. They say hanging him out to dry and often forcing him to revert to recovery mode. His hand stir isn't consistent and lacks to the power to torque and turn defenders out of gaps, which consist with consistency to manipulate the point of attack. So basically what they're saying is that it doesn't seem like he has that, how some linemen just have a nasty edge to them. They're basically saying he doesn't necessarily possess that. He's more of an effort type guy. He's going to give you effort, but in terms of that natural nastiness that a lot of linemen have at the NFL level, they're saying he doesn't possess that on a consistent basis, or the ability to move, defensive linemen out of the way to clear up some lanes and gaps. And so that's something that he'll definitely have to improve upon at this level. And so they go on to, talk about his flexibility. Wouldn't call him stiff, just think he's somewhat lethargic. He lacks short area quickness, but not the ability to stay upright on his hips or to keep his base established wide. He provides modest space skills and shouldn't be charged with a lot of pulling or work on a boundary he won't get home. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that they talk about. But ultimately, when they're talking about, his best trait, the best trait that they have listed for him is his football IQ. Worst trait is athleticism in terms of what they say. And they're saying his best film came against Oregon in 2019. And so, yeah, definitely, this explains, obviously he's got a lot to work with in terms of, like being able to mentally handle the stuff that he's going to need to at the NFL level. But he's just going to have to continue to, work on, his quickness, his footwork, working with his hands and being able to, get stronger and move people before he'll be able to actually make a roster and see himself, advance from there. But certainly that is within his ability, and we'll see, just how that plays out moving forward. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, as more news continues to drop, you can be sure to find it here. So thanks again for watching, and see you guys next time.